We're live, HCPX, a fresh week, Monday morning. And did you know the face of boxing returns in 5 days? Did you know that, D-Style? The face of boxing returns in 5 days. Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo. You feeling the buzz of this fight? Like, you
I
feeling it
am.
yet? Are you
I
feeling it?
am feeling the buzz. Everybody put your X's up, hit the like button if you're watching on the archive, by the way. And am I feeling the buzz? I am.
Mhm.
Yes. And I think people will start, like, by midweek, we'll start feeling the buzz.
We'll get to all that shortly, soon enough. But let's recap the weekend real quick. Some stuff happened. Richardson Hitchens uh, facing Zepeda. We had Joyce getting iced again by Zhang. Let's start off with Richardson Hitchens. D-Style, like, you ever did, when you went to school, I know you had boring teachers. We all did. And you ever did that thing in class where it was just like, you're just not feeling it that day and the teacher's just boring you to death, and you start to do that thing with your head where you're like, and your head just starts going all over the place and you're trying hard and then you just keep doing
Or
that thing, right? That
your
number.
your friend throws the little
Right.
papers at you.
That's what I was doing on my couch Saturday night. I watched college football all day, all night, and I'm trying to stay awake. And I got the Hitchens fight, and I got the game on, one of the games on that TV. And I'm watching Richardson Hitchens, and I'm like, he's over there, right? That corner over there. And I'm watching the fight, and I'm just like, and my wife's laughing at me. She walks in the room laughing at me. And I'm just doing that number. I'm trying hard. Yeah, it's over there. I'm trying hard to stay awake. I just couldn't. Fourth round, dude, I just tapped out. I couldn't do it anymore. It's like, please, for the love of God, I get it. And I know we're going to have the people, D-Style, say, yeah, but Richardson Hitchens is a really good fighter. And you don't understand the sweet science of boxing. You don't understand the Floyd Mayweather style. What I understand is Floyd Mayweather used to destroy dudes. All right, early in his career, he used to destroy dudes. He didn't just play with dudes and then ease his way to victory. It's like, dude, can you step on it? Can you stop holding? Can you use your natural God-given ability to keep your hands free and start to box dudes that way instead of holding and then jabbing? Come on, man. I understand what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get the dude saying, you don't understand the sweet science of boxing. You just don't get how great he is. Dude, I understand he's a really good fighter. I understand
Yes.
he won 120 to 108. I didn't give Zepeda a single round, but come on. You can't tell me that you like that. It's like the dudes that are like listening to the music that nobody listens to, and they'll tell you that you just don't understand this music. You just don't understand how great it is. You just don't get it. You know, they're up there, sipping their wine with their pinkies up. You just don't understand how special and great this music is. I get that there's probably something great about it. It's just boring.
It's boring.
Can the guy do something, please? Did you
That's not the fight you
were you
introduced
sitting
people
on
to,
the
right?
edge of your seat like, oh, this is the greatest performance I've ever seen in my life? Were you?
Look, man, I'm just, and I know the mindset of these fans is about, maybe like when I first came on YouTube, I talked like that a little bit. Oh, you gotta appreciate. You guys don't appreciate. You gotta appreciate it. I like it. It's an opinion. Like here's the reality, bro. You know how many times in boxing I've almost been embarrassed by, like, if I go to a fight party or whatever, and people are just sitting there so bored that they're not even acknowledging their boredness. All right, let me explain to you what this means. There's levels to boredness. Like, there's like, oh, I'm bored. That's like a level 5. You know what I mean? But when you start talking about tomorrow's football game, while there's like a fight going on TV, when they're talking about what are we going to bring to the cookout tomorrow, okay? When you're talking about like older fights, you know what I mean? Well, when you start talking about like the UFC card next week, when you hear people just talking about just regular shit, like the girls go outside and they don't even care anymore, you know what I mean? And then you're like the boxing fan, you're like there, and you you feel all alone because nobody is interested in the fight. They don't even care enough to acknowledge that they don't care. Like they just don't care. Like they've lost. They don't even care who wins. They have like, you know what I mean? Like they'll ask like hours later, like, oh yeah, I won the fight. Did I win? Ah, cool. You know, like that's. I can't be the only one that has experienced that, Alex. I can't be the only one that has watched boxing fights that reached that level of boredom that they didn't even acknowledge its existence anymore. Right? That's worse than acknowledging that it's more. It's just that's how bad it is. And that's the type of performance this was. I don't care if it's shit what anybody says. Okay, don't come to me. Okay, just look. Don't come to me with your holier than thou. I appreciate the art of watching it. You don't. You're not a real fan if you can't appreciate what Hitchens did. Let me tell you what Hitchens did. All right, he outboxed Zepeda for 12 rounds. However, there's one problem, Calix, and if they got rid of this one thing, it would make these fights more interesting. Get rid of the fucking holding. I'm tired of the resetting. We already know, right, that Zepeda is not going to get anything done in the first wave of the attack. He's not fast enough. He can't get there, right? But once he does close the gap, right, why is this dude allowed to hold continuously to just get us back to where we know Zepeda can't do shit?
Okay, can he stop putting other people to sleep, everybody else to sleep except his opponent? Can he stop doing that too?
I mean, he's getting knockouts. You just don't know about him, right? He's not. He knocked you out. I saw it on his box shirt, bro. He has like 1 million wins. Like they're all wins by KO by the fourth round.
Like that was NyQuil for me. It was like I'm watching like Notre Dame just loses in the last play. Arkansas just loses in the last play. I go from that to Richards.
So you're hype, right?
Like, what a downer. Like you talk about going from up to down, like from 0 to 60.
But let me tell that corner over there. Like Cal always talking to that corner over there. You know what I mean? Let me listen to that corner right there.
Another thing, they were talking about this mystery person on the phone, and it was the worst mystery, right? We all knew it was Floyd Mayweather on the phone talking to the trainer in the ring to talk to Hitchens. And I'm like, can Floyd please? Floyd it seems like he's doing everything in his power to keep people away, other fighters away from being stars. Like he became a star, but he needs to stop giving other people advice on how to become a star, because it seems like everybody he does that to becomes the opposite of a star. It's like you're telling this dude to bore everybody to death. Tell him to throw punches. Tell him to stop hugging. I understand, dude, 121 away. I don't understand the sweet science of boxing. I get it. Tell the dude to do something.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Alex, and it's twofold. So let me say this. So I came in thinking, well, I'm not going to blame Hitchens because, hey, he's going to do whatever he got to do to get the W. But I want to give a shout out to Hot Minute. All right, he's got a big TikTok channel, by the way. Yes, Hot Boxing Minute. I want to give him a shout out because I think he had the tweet of the night. And I'm paraphrasing, but his tweet read something like, a lot of these guys have a misconception that they're going to become rich, boxing this way because of Mayweather, right? But dude, like, I can't stress this enough. You're not going to go anywhere fighting like that. There's not going to be any demand for people, like, for anybody to watch you. And all the people spare me. All this talk about, like, oh, you don't appreciate it. Blah, 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 blah. You motherfuckers don't even show up to the fights. You don't buy tickets. You know what I mean? You don't buy pay-per-views. It's just shut up already. All right? Like, you're so full of shit. All right? You're so self-important because you feel superior because you understand how great, what Hitchens did was and all this other shit. I understand that it takes talent to do what he did, right? I understand it does. Like no one is missing that. However, Calix, how do you feel about I just thought the holding was excessive. And before somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, but you're just saying that because it's a certain type of fighter," like shut the fuck up already, bro. I'm done with this shit. I don't like it when Vladimir Klitschko did it. No. With Vladimir Klitschko, like a certain type of fighter. Now, no, he wasn't. So shut up already. Right? And the dudes that scream certain type of fighter are the same motherfuckers that were crying about Fury holding fucking Wilder all night. Okay, like, oh, that's illegal. He was holding it, and I agree. He shouldn't have been able to hold Wilder all night. But stay consistent. I hate it when Eastern Europeans like Vladimir Klitschko do it. I hate it when African American fighters like Hitchens do it. I hate it with any type of I fucking hate it with any type of fighter. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to see the fucking holding consistently like that. It's not pleasing to watch. It's hurting the sport. Okay, are you kidding me? It would have been a much better fight. It would showcase his skills even more if he wasn't allowed to keep holding that way. Like, enough's enough with the fucking holding. It's excessive at this point. Nobody wants to fucking watch it. I'm done with it, bro. Like, Haney does not need to hold Cambozas 100 times to beat fucking Cambozas. If he does, I guess he's not good enough then. You don't need to hold the dude that much, bro. It's crazy. I think he could have outboxed him just fine, okay, if he wasn't allowed to hold him so much. He would just have to be doing a lot more pivoting. And who knows? Maybe Cambozas does have more moments, but it makes it more dramatic and better for us as an audience. But it would showcase his skills more. All right? Defense is when you make motherfuckers miss and you make them pay. That's what defense is. All right? Holding dudes, since the Markets of Queensberry rule days, has not been fucking allowed. If holding was allowed, they would just allow it. And I don't want to hear and it's not just the rules, Calix. I think there needs to be extra emphasis by the sanctioning bodies and all the stockbrokers, everybody involved in boxing needs to get together. It's the promoters need to do it. It's better for you in your fights. All right, let's start getting stricter with the holding. Okay, I'm getting irritated watching. If I want to watch holding, I'll go watch fucking Muay Thai. All right, if I want to watch holding, go on. I don't want to watch Greco-Roman boxing. Okay, if you want to watch Greco-Roman boxing, just go watch Greco-Roman wrestling. They have a sport for that. Knock yourself out. Okay. Go watch MMA. And MMA, you could hold them against the cage. They hold all night with the bicycle shorts and everything. Go knock yourself out with a holding over there. I don't want to watch a knockoff version of holding where you just hold long enough just to make the fight boring so they can break it up and we start all over again. The shit is insane, bro. All right? It's like playing a chess game, but you get to reset the game every 5 moves. Well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm just getting tired of it. People are falling asleep. People are complaining. I'm done with it. And if Hitchens loses and then nobody wants to pay to watch him anymore, I don't feel sorry for him. I'm sorry. And then he's talking about Zepeda like Zepeda's a prime Casasu or something, bro. I have to be very, very careful with him. I have to be careful, extra careful. Give me a fucking break. I'm done with the holding, bro. I'm just telling you right now. I was done with it when Vladimir Klitschko did it. Okay, and you name the fighter, and I'll agree with you. Okay. Oh, but these style you didn't say anything about when. Name the fighter, and I agree with you. All right. Whoever it is, I don't give a fuck who you name. Well, what about when this guy? I agree with you. Well, when so-and-so did it, I agree with you. I am preemptively agreeing with you that whoever the fuck you want to name should not have been excessively holding. Simple as that.
Yeah, so when you 120 to 108 people, you're obviously good fighter. 120 to 108, a good fighter. So we're all in agreement. It's a very good fighter. But here's the thing. When you don't put 120 to 108 opponent to sleep, and you're putting everybody who's watching you 120 to 108 your opponent to sleep, then that's a problem. And you're going to have a disconnect from those people naturally. And on top of that, who's looking for Richards and Hitchens next fight? Like in the chat, are you looking to see Richards and Hitchens in the next fight? I don't care if he returns next September, next December.
But you know what, Kellex? Like,
I don't care if he's a matchroom fighter or a top-ranked fighter or a PBC fighter.
I agree. Look,
I'm not looking to see that dude again.
Here's the thing, Kellex. The ref is not doing him any favors, and he's not doing himself any favors. If you just tell the guy from round one, yo, cut it out with the holding, man. You've already held him 3 times in the first minute. Like, enough's enough. Stop holding him, right? And I got to take a point. It may not stop the holding completely, but we're gonna have bigger gaps between the holding, and that's gonna allow Hitchens to showcase his skills in a more pleasing way, right? Like watching a guy make a guy miss and pivot and roll with a shot and counter and then step away, like that's just more exciting to watch than, I'm playing tag with you. I'm going to fence you for a little bit, and then I'm going to hold. The moment it's getting good, I'm going to hold you, right? And then I'm just going to keep holding you until the ref breaks us up, and then it's wash, rinse, repeat, right? We're not showcasing the best parts of boxing when we allow fighters to do that. In my personal opinion, the market will dictate, bro. Ain't nobody like Hitchens was not trending on social media. No. Okay, Hitchens didn't make any type of splash or noise, and all the people and all their horsemen, okay, they want to preach about, I loved every minute of it. I think you're lying. I think you're full of shit. Okay, because ain't nobody hates to pay to that bad that they were glad to see him get beat up for talking like that. Like I don't even understand how anybody could possibly sit there and pretend to really love that. And if you do, fine, but you have to acknowledge that you are a minority if you love watching that. You just are. Nobody wants to see that, bro. And one more thing. Then people take it to an extreme, Calix. What's the extreme? You just want them to have brain damage, and you want them to do rock and sock them, and you want them to fight with no skill, and you want them to just trade all night. Like nobody's saying that. No, nobody's saying just trade all night, take 2 to land 1 hit you. No, nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying let yourself get hit. All I'm saying is I'm actually okay with how he fights up until he starts holding. Get rid of the holding aspect, and it's a far more entertaining fight to watch. Like, it would be night and day.
All I'm saying is try to put together 2 punch combinations without holding. Because I feel like these dudes now, their natural instinct is to throw a combination. When they throw a combination, to naturally just hold. It's like that running joke. Remember, like when Haney pushed Lomachenko at the weigh-in? And I said I'm sure his initial instinct after he pushed Lomachenko was to go hug him. I think they're training these dudes to just smother, get
because
your punches off.
It's a tactic. Like sometimes in sports, Calix, there's certain tactics that become effective in winning, right? But they're not pleasing to watch. So what do sports do? They change or alter the rules, right? At one point in basketball, I don't know the full history about it. You'll know better than me. But I'm sure that shot clock didn't exist at first.
Yeah.
I'm positive it didn't exist at first.
Yeah.
So why did they have the shot clock?
4 corners offense, get rid of the 4 corners offense, make people shoot.
Right. And for what reason?
Speed the game up. Yeah.
Speed the game up. It's too boring.
Yeah.
Like people like I'm sure there was some basketball purists back then. Oh, you don't appreciate
the 4 corners offense.
The 4 corners offense. You are a disgrace. You're not real basketball fans. While everybody else was like, I'll take the clock.
Hitchens is a walking 4 corners offense.
We need to stop the 4 corners offense in boxing. We need to implement a quote unquote engagement rule. What does that mean? 1, stop anything that stops engagement, that's anti-engagement, like holding. We need to put a stop to it. Okay, being consistently negative, or you're not when you're doing it, when you're not like avoiding engagement right? Which could be done in two ways. You could do it by holding, or you could do it by running around the ring all night, right? Where you're literally not like ringing down. Remember when he turned around and was running for Castanero, like literally, right? That is not defense. And then people will say dumb shit like, well, it's his opponent should learn how to cut off the ring. Now, cutting off the ring is a real thing, okay? It is. However, no, it's not your opponent's job to make you fight. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like, you are fighting. Fight. Like it's like not getting in the pool. Like, it's like being a swimmer and ain't gonna get wet. All right. And engagement does not mean, and I know what people are gonna say, oh, because you just want him to trade, or you want him to be like Meldrick Taylor, like, because you know Meldrick Taylor, like, that was use Meldrick Taylor as an example because people believe that Meldrick Taylor could have fought negative like Hitchens, but chose not to, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe he could have, right? But then I don't think Meldrick Taylor reaches his heights if he fought that way back then. I just don't. Dudes are just too much. Like, it's no. Like, this is a new thing, all right? And like the amount of holding going on, it needs to be addressed. And the boxing, those in charge of boxing need to get it together, man, and get stricter with it because nobody wants to see it. Nobody's saying get in wars and trade and no, that's not what engagement means. You are fighting your opponent, okay, offensively or defensively or otherwise. You're not avoiding the engagement, right? By staying away from the pocket at all times and trying to pot shot your way to some victory when that's not something, that's not a fight. You're not fighting at that point, right? Yeah. And holding is the same thing. I'm done with holding, and I've been done with it, and all it does is turn people off, bro. And the reason it turns people off in boxing and not in Muay Thai, because in Muay Thai, when you're holding, you're allowed to like hit a dude with a fucking knee in the face when you're holding them, right? And MMA, you're allowed to fucking pick them up and slam them in the ground when you're holding them. You're not allowed to do anything in boxing when you're holding a dude. Like, you just got to, like, yeah, you can work your free hand, but those are arm punches. They're not doing anything. That's number one. Second, you're just waiting on the ref to break it up, bro. Because these dudes are holding on like an octopus. You know what I mean? They're just waiting for you to, like, and it's not efficient to use your free hand because you're just going to tire yourself out. You're not doing damage with that free hand, right? So it is what it is, but that's all I got.
One guy that didn't need to hold and get a knockout victory was our guy Zhilei Zhang against Joyce. Same result. That's one thing I was happy about Saturday. I got both of them right with the betting. Doesn't always happen when that happens, right? But Zhilei Zhang, I was surprised coming in. We talked about it last week that the same result was actually in the plus territory for betting. He was plus 160 to knock out Joyce. I jumped on that. And same thing with Richards and Hitchens' decision. I think that was pretty easy to see for all of us. But Joyce just couldn't make the proper adjustments. Straight left hand, was never going to be able to get away from that straight left hand. And it ironically ended up being the right hand that knocked him out and sent him to hell. He just wasn't able to make the proper adjustments. So Zhang, to me, is a guy that is live against everybody out there at this point, even at 40 years old. We talked about it. Like, I don't think this heavyweight division is strong historically. I never have. So I think he can be, like, you put him in there with Deontay Wilder. I got to be honest. I'm picking Zhang to beat Wilder. Would you favor him against Anthony Joshua? Like, these are the calls I'm making now after seeing him beat Joyce twice and arguably beat a guy like Hrgovic by decision as well. You know, got the short end of this decision there. But what'd you think about the fight and about Zhilei Zhang going forward?
Look, shout out to Zhang, man. He did his thing. Double Z did his thing. You know what I mean? Round one was very troublesome. Like, I felt like, what the hell is wrong with Joyce? He's a little too. It's one thing to be defensive, but he looked like he looked scared to get hit. Like, just to put it frank, that's how he looked, right? And then I think it was round 2, like Zhang caught him with some shots, and they just affected Joyce in a way that even in the first fight, he was not affected like that in the first fight, right? And then Zhang knocked him out with the punch. I didn't think if he was going to stop him, I didn't think it was going to be the right hook.
Right.
Like I'm going to put that right now. Like, and I think he was so focused and so worried about the left that he completely forgot Zhang had a right hand. You know, and Zhang lit him up with a right, and Zhang knew it was over the moment he hit him. Like Zhang just like put his hands in the air, he walked away, like he did the walk off, a home run. You know, so
do you think Joyce was just in this rematch for the money because he comes in at a career high weight?
I don't. I think he put on weight so he can. So his punches could be heavier to Zhang. I think that's why he did it.
Maybe the game plan was different. If
it was about money, he would have fought somebody. I don't think he goes right back with the guy that beat him if it's about money.
That's why I didn't like the narrative that Joyce can make the proper adjustments, because I think Joyce is who he is. He's got to fight the way he fights to be successful. I don't think Joyce is the type of guy that you can say, all right, let's be a little more tentative. Let's throw less punches. Let's be a little more on guard. And when he did that, I was talking to another content creator, shout out to Surgical Boxing, before the fight. And he's telling me, I'm telling you, Joe Joyce is going to be more tentative in this fight, more cautious, and it's all wrong. That's not what they should be doing. They should just be telling Joyce, be Joyce and try your best at that. That's not going to work either, but that's still your best bet. And I just think they put on weight, tried a new game plan, and he's not capable of executing that.
Yeah, it seemed like he had it already in his mind. I can't get hit. I can't get hit. I can't get hit. So when he was getting hit, he had a very negative reaction to it, and Zhang picked up on it right away. Like Zhang kind of knew what he had in front of him, and him being tentative allowed Zhang to like just be 100% offensive. Like he was like, man, I could just let it rip right here. I could just let go of these hands right now. And that's why I've always said, like, people always assume fighting negative or fighting in a defensive way is the best way to go by definition. No, like it depends on the fighter. It depends who you're fighting. Joe Joyce, I do think he should have made some adjustments, but he should still be true to himself, right? And he wasn't, right? Also, on top of that, his punch resistance is shot. Like his punch resistance is gone.
Yeah.
And I could, because he was taking the shots better against Zhang in the last fight.
Yeah.
Right. And it was stopped because of the eye, and he took he took bigger shots, I believe, in the first fight overall. He didn't see this one coming, the right hand, but I'm not going to say he took him well. I mean, what does that even mean? But he was still standing after he took him, right? Whereas in this fight, it's gone. And I've talked about like the crack on the chandelier. It's been shattered at this point, and it's just not the same. And I wonder about like guys like Fundora, guys like there's certain guys out there that I wonder, like, are they, for how long can they do this? Conor Benn's opponent, which I'm sure we'll mention momentarily, but
it's that guy, the physicality part of it. It's the mental too. It's okay.
Of course, yeah.
I didn't take those punches well. Then they start to question their chin, but on top of that, their opponents know. Like their opponents know now. I can.
Zhang knew. Zhang was like, man, I got this dude. Like you could see the confidence in Zhang. Like
before
after round one. No, but I'm talking like, of course he's a confident guy, but yeah. Round two, he looked like, a predator in the wild, just like hunting the rabbit. Is what he looked like. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what he looked like, bro. And Joyce was just like, I don't know. He almost like accepted his fate. I just wish Joyce would, at the very least, his best shot was, man, you're gonna go out. At least go out doing what you do best. I mean,
he needs to be in there with an opponent where he can do that style his best. And Zhang's not that guy, because I do think Joyce can win some fights against some top 10 guys going forward.
Maybe.
I
I don't
don't
know
know if he's
now.
finished. He could be finished. Who knows? People are saying he should retire. He said he's not going to retire. So we got to understand that he's not going
I
away. He's
think
gonna
he's gonna have a run like Roy Jones late in his career, bro. He's gonna be getting knocked out a lot, I think.
Yeah, possibly. I wouldn't doubt it. I need to highlight this because I don't think people truly understand the Asian market in boxing. We've talked about why fights are going to Japan in the lower weight classes, the big market that there is now, the Chinese market. I talked about after the first Joyce fight, the numbers, the sheer numbers, the amount of people who watched that fight in China. And I'm sure the numbers will be similar or better here, but I talked to somebody from TikTok, works in moderation on the back end this morning, and they're telling me that Zhilei Zhang is the most viewed fighter ever on TikTok. Zhilei Zhang. And this is the type of market that this guy brings. And that's why I think it's possible for him to be in big fights going forward. They have to see this, right? The power brokers are going to have to see this, and they see the power of social media. Look at Ryan Garcia with Instagram, right? And then they'll see the numbers that Zhang is putting up on TikTok, I'm sure. But what do you make of this? I'm sure it's the amount of people in China, right?
Yeah, I mean, how many people does China have? Like, I forget, 2 million, 3 million, 3 billion, 2 billion?
Billion. Yeah.
Is it 8 billion? I thought it was 2 billion.
I think it's 2 billion. With a B.
Wow.
1.5 to 2, is that right?
Wow. That's a lot of bodies, bro. That's a lot of sheer numbers. And I know what people will do. Well, it's a very small percent, bro. It doesn't matter. We're just talking about sheer numbers. You know what I mean? I want to see Zhang against either Fury or Usyk in China, bro. I would love to see that. But even if he does, I don't know, maybe Zhang against AJ in China, like that would be a big fight.
1.5 China population, 1.5 billion.
That is insane, bro. Like, imagine what it would be if they didn't have like those laws, or you could only have one child and all that. Like, imagine. Jeez, like,
you got Zhilei Zhang, you'd have Zhilei Zhang fans everywhere.
Man, like I don't know. I think like between India and China, that's like half of the world's population, I believe, or more. Yeah. It's crazy. But look, the guy has sheer numbers on the side when it comes to just being from China.
Those are big numbers. Plus, he's a heavyweight.
Man,
those are big numbers.
They are. So, I mean, we got to look at it for what it is, right? But the question is, was Joyce just a perfect matchup for Zhang? Like how is Zhang going to do against guys that do have better defense than
telling
Joyce,
you what,
and are better counterpunchers than Joyce? What's going to happen to that?
He was a big underdog against Hrgovic, who has a much different style, and a lot of people felt he won that fight. And Hrgovic, despite what we think about him being boring and all that stuff, a lot of people have been high on Hrgovic, and he's a guy who's heavily ducked, and Zhang fought him and arguably beat him. So we're starting to get more data on Zhang, and he just looks like the real deal. He looks like a legit top 5-6 guy in the division who is game against anybody. I'd put him in my top 5 at heavyweight. And he's becoming my favorite heavyweight. It's the opposite of Hitchens, right? It's like, oh, yeah, Hitchens might be great. I don't ever see him fight again, though. Zhang, I watch that guy fight against anybody. I don't even care if he loses the fight. I'll watch that dude. I'm a fight.
Yeah,
but I don't care where he's from.
I need to see him against like some other opponents. Like, I think him and AJ is a big fight. I think it's a great fight. I think him and Wilder is a big fight.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'd love to see him against Wilder. Would love to see that fight. What'd you think about Conor Benn? People are down on Conor Benn after the performance. I think he fought a tough fighter, right?
Like, he beat the hell out of that dude, bro. Like, the whole night. And then he didn't knock him out, so that means he's on steroids. He was on steroids. bro. This
That guy fought a good fight though. He was tough.
But here's what I'll say: like I know people don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to PDs when they think PDs gives you punching power. You know what I mean? Like that's not what PDs do. Like what? Like you know what I mean? The whole thing's dumb, bro. Even home runs is not it's like like you're gonna get big muscles. You're gonna hit home runs. That's not. No, that's not why these guys were hitting home runs. Barry Bonds was already a home run hitter. It's just that the quote unquote PEDs allowed him to recover faster, so he was able to play at a higher level, at his level, for longer. That's what they do. You know what I mean? But I thought Conor looked great. I think he did have a tough opponent, much bigger opponent. Was fighting 154, and people were just saying things. I don't know, man. Like, oh, he's too small for the weight class. Oh, he didn't look good. Oh, like, I didn't give his opponent one round. I think he looked fine, and then he was bouncing the dude's head all over the place. He just has a hard head. Like that's what it is. Like
they strategically, you could tell they strategically picked that guy to get the rounds, right? Because that
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
He was tough, and I gave him a little bit more credit. I think he won a round or two, and he was doing some good work in there against Conor Benn at points. But that's nitpicking, right? But I like Conor Benn at 154. I like the fights that they can make between 147 and 160 for him. I'm glad he's back, and the Eubank Jr. fight's going to happen. I think that's the worst kept secret, right? That fight's going to happen, and that's a fight that should happen because that's a big fight over there. I remember when that fight was first announced, the amount of noise that did out in the UK. I was watching the UK channels and watching them go crazy. The sons of two legends out there fighting each other. And I'm telling you, even more bad blood now, that's a big fight over there. It's a big fight. And on top of that, I love what's happening at 154 now. You got guys moving up from 147 to 154. Virgil Ortiz. All right. That's on top of Errol and Bud's going to be moving up there. And now Conor Benn's moving up there. And that's on top of having Tim Tszyu there and possibly Mel moving back down. And on top of that, you got some tough fighters with not big names like a Mendoza, like a Fundora, like a Lubin fighting there as well. That's going to be a stacked division full of tough fighters and guys with names now.
Yeah.
I like 154.
So 154 is stacked. I kind of wish Conor could still have a run at 147, to be honest, because that division is open at the moment. And Bud is moving up, and so I would like Conor Benn to have a run there because we saw him at 147 for so long. But I just want to say, man, the more, not to bring up this topic again, but the more I read and learn about Conor Benn's situation with a drug test, the less I care because I think people are blowing it out of proportion. And no matter what this guy did this week, if he blew that dude out in the first round, oh, see, he's on PEDs, right? He goes the distance. Oh, see, he's off the PEDs. Like, once you put a scarlet letter on somebody, there's nothing it can do, right, to shake it off. And it's just something he's going to have to deal with. Canelo dealt with it, so it's not impossible, right? But there's a lot of great fights for Conor Benn. I think he's a big name in the UK, and I think he has crossover appeal here. Calix, he speaks better Spanish than me.
Yeah.
I'm like he has a cadence down, the mannerisms. His mannerisms are different when he talks Spanish. Like he's speaking Spanish as well as my grandfather did.
Yeah.
Like, and this is, yeah, like, and it makes you wonder, like, speaking of Canelo, Eddie, you should have had this dude on the undercard, at least one undercard of a Canelo fight. Yeah. And a lot of the Spanish media was going to be there, and he could have talked to them. He could have grew his profile, but maybe, I don't know. I didn't know he spoke Spanish until he had that face-off that one time.
Yeah.
So maybe Eddie didn't know, right? But, man, that was a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Like, Conor Benn should have been on the undercard of Canelo fights, in my opinion, but that's just a side thing.
Yeah, I think Conor will get fights because of his name and personality and the fact that he doesn't look unbeatable at all, right? He's not a guy that we would say, I think he's going to be on the top 10.
And it goes back, and it's going to show our consistency. I don't care if he wins or loses. He
Yeah.
has an exciting style. I'm going to keep watching and supporting him as a fighter because he's fun to watch, and I'm going to stick to that. But bro, like what makes Tank a better fighter than resume wise than Conor Benn? Like what? Like what? Like Tank couldn't knock out Cruz, right? Like it is
Right.
what it is. Like I don't know. I think, by the way, Conor Benn against Tank at 147 would be a great fight. I'm just putting that out there since he wants to fight guys that speak Spanish, right? Although Ryan don't speak a lick of Spanish, but that's not here or there. You know? If I was Conor Benn, bro, I swear to God, I'm telling Eddie, like, hey, if I can't fight in UK, shit, let's fight. I don't know about Florida though. Like, bro, like put him on a December card in Arizona, bro. Where Sonny Edwards banned, put him on that card. Put him in there with a good opponent. There's going to be Spanish media there. He could grow his profile, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, he could grow his profile speaking Spanish. Here.
Yeah. 5 days away. Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing's back. And he's doing it against Jermell Charlo. We've talked about this, undisputed versus undisputed, all that stuff. I like the fight. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, looking at the numbers right now, if I go on AXS.com, and I know these numbers up and down because I've been to several Canelo fights.
Sure.
The last one I attended was the Golovkin fight, the third one. And that did about $22 million live gate, huge live gate. But the ticket prices for this fight are about half the price for that fight, the Golovkin 3 fight. The same ticket that I bought was about $1,200. It's selling for about $600 on AXS.com right now, the same ticket. So I'm not sure if the buzz is there yet. I'm not sure where the disconnect is with that. I'm not sure. It could be the economy too, right? The economy may be tapped out. It could be that we're competing with more big fights this year. It could be a lot of things. Who knows? But I think the buzz will get there as the fight week goes on. And I'm expecting a hell of a fight stylistically. What do you think we're looking at stylistically for this fight? And we'll have plenty of time to talk about this fight throughout the week, but just like generally, what are you looking at for this fight stylistically?
I'm looking at a fight that's very similar to the Danny Jacobs fight, only with bigger shots getting landed on his opponent, this time being Charlo. I think Charlo's easier to hit than Danny Jacobs. I also think we're going to see Canelo showcase his head movement in this fight. And I think like that, but also, Canelo is, it's only natural. He is slowing down. So Jermell will have his moments, I think, in this fight. And we're going to learn that Canelo has a chin. I think Charlo's going to land some right hands on him, but Canelo's going to take him well because he could take a punch. But that's a type of fight more or less that I'm looking at.
Yeah, so this is why I would shy away from the upset here. Is when I look at a fighter who is clearly the underdog. 4.5 to 1 underdog, and I think it's priced correctly for Jermell Charlo. I look for two things. Does he have an equalizer? Here's the problem with that is when has Canelo hit the canvas? Never. He has 63 fights. He's never hit the canvas. And look who he's been in there with. I've talked about this numerous times. He's been a combined, how many rounds? 47 rounds combined with the likes of Golovkin and Kovalev. 47 rounds. And he never hit the canvas. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, if Kovalev couldn't do it, if Golovkin couldn't do it, and he's been in there with other big punchers, and he's been in there with guys who can punch in different manners, right? Thudding power, punches that you can't see coming, faster guys. I can't see Charlo at super middleweight knocking out Canelo. I just can't envision that scenario in which the equalizer would be there for Charlo to not only knock him out, but hurt him in this fight. I just don't see that happening. So that takes that off the board. I just don't see Charlo by stoppage being in play in this fight. The other problem that I see for Charlo in this fight is he's also an economical fighter. Canelo's economical, throws middle 40s per round in a fight, right? About 45 punches per round. And he's more economical early in fights. And as the fight goes on, he gets more active, right? Middle rounds, he starts to pick it up, and that tails off into the late rounds. He's very active in the middle rounds. Charlo's also economical. He has similar numbers. So in an upset, I want to see the B-side fighter, the guy who is the underdog, activity, right? Push the activity. I don't think Charlo is that type of fighter to do that, to win a fight on activity against Canelo. And on top of that, this is something I don't see people talking about enough. 17-month layoff, D-style. 16, 17-month layoff. PBC is notorious for having their fighters go into big fights not at their best. Not at their best. We saw it with Errol Spence. We saw it with Fulton Jr. They come off of huge layoffs and then they go into big fights. And there's a reason for that. I have my theories. One of the big theory is they have to protect their fighters to get them to the big cross promotion fights. They overly protect their fighters before they get to the big fight. And those fighters aren't ready for the big fight. A huge layoff, 17 months layoff in a fight in which Charlo has to be active early in the fight. To me, this isn't playing out to be a big upset weekend for Charlo against Canelo. I think Canelo has a lot going for himself in this fight, going into this fight. Charlo, he should have been more active going into this fight. I know an injury had a lot to do with it as well, but I don't think he's going to be at his best in this fight. And I think those big scenarios stylistically don't play out in his favor against Canelo. The big one being the stoppage power. He's not going to have the stoppage power, and he's a puncher and he could take a punch, but I don't think he's going to have the stopping power, the hurting power to change this fight on a dime against Canelo.
Well, I'll say this. I do think Jermell has a really good right hand that could hurt anybody. I will say that. I agree with you that it's unlikely to hurt Canelo for several reasons. Like, we know Canelo has a good chin, but we don't know that for the same reasons that we knew like Joyce had a good chin or Bondura had a good chin. It wasn't because he kept getting hit over and over and over, so we just knew he had a good chin. Or like Conor Benn's opponent, like, oh, that guy could take a punch. We just know because when guys finally hit him with a clean shot, like Golovkin, he ate the shot. You know what I mean? Like, and
he
it
ate those shots.
Yeah. And Golovkin had to. It was a very high skill level to set that up to even land it, right? Yeah. Because there's other times, even when you do it at Canelo, he partially rolls it or he completely rolls it. I think he's the best at rolling shots in the entire sport right now. Like, I don't think anybody does it better than Canelo. And he blocks shots and catches them with his high guard. And even when he doesn't, he has really good head movement, moves his waist very well. So it's very hard to hit Canelo as it is. He already makes it difficult. Like, he gives you very little windows of opportunity to land as it is. And then you combine that with Charlo not being active enough, having a low output, well, he's going to have even less windows of opportunity than your average dude, right? And the thing with Canelo, I did a show yesterday with Chicano Nopal, and they asked 12 questions, 12 rounds. Shout out to them. Check out the show, by the way. And two of the questions were defense and offense, right? Which I appreciate, and that's cool. However, in boxing, the guys that can switch from offense to defense seamlessly, are the best fighters. Like because they could do it
Yeah.
seamlessly. Canelo is doing things defensively in there, like when he's feinting and moving. Like with Jacobs, he was making a miss, the jabs, right? But he was still there in front of him, right? So the presence of Canelo was still there. Canelo wasn't like in the other side of the ring when he would throw a jab. He wouldn't hold him and stop that. No, he was right there. Man, I just threw 4 or 5 jabs. The guy's still right there. He's still a danger to me, right? Canelo does that very, very well, like very well. So I think in this fight, Charlo's going to sense the presence of Canelo in front of him at mid-range. I think the jab's going to miss a lot, and he's going to miss a lot. But Canelo's still going to be there, and I think that's how Canelo's going to pressure him in this fight. And I think that's going to force Charlo, at least early on, instinctively to throw more than he's used to. And it's going to tire him out. Because Canelo's going to be right there. When has Charlo fought somebody who could be defensively responsible, but right in front of him the entire fight? Ever.
Remember when we had Dougie Fisher on the channel?
Yeah.
I think it was on your channel. And he said they've done a great job with matchmaking for the Charlos because the word is the Charlos can't handle movement and they need people in front of them, right? Straight up and down fighters. And so there's that. Here's a question I have with you because you just mentioned guys who offensively, defensively, and I agree with you. That's why I was critical of Adrian Broner early on in his career and saying this isn't the guy y'all are making him out to be. He's offense or he's defense. He can't seamlessly transition. The 2 guys who beat Canelo are those guys, Floyd, Bivol. They've done a lazy job of explaining, I would say the boxing world has done a lazy job of explaining what gives Canelo problems. It's not movers. He's beat movers. He's beat guys with lateral movement. Now they're trying to make a pressure fighter out to be his monster, and that's just not the case either. The only 2 guys who have beat him are special, versatile fighters. Bivol is a special, talented, versatile fighter. He's a guy who top 5 pound for pound, and he's top 10 in many, many CompuBox statistical categories, both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Who else? Floyd Mayweather. When he fought Floyd Mayweather, number 1 pound for pound, and he was top 10 offensive and defensive efficiency in CompuBox. Many top 10. Charlo's not that guy.
He's not. There's another thing about that those 2 guys have. They're relaxed in the ring, right? Like I was saying, there's certain fighters where the ring is their playground. They feel at home there. They feel at peace there. They're in the eye of the storm, basically. Like, they're good. Charlo, and I like Charlo because of, don't get me wrong, I like the way Charlo fights because it makes him exciting to watch, but he's very, like, have you seen him? Like, he looks tense. They kind of like, he has like a tense look.
Yeah.
And especially when things aren't going his way, like he's almost like getting angry and he's looking for that big shot. That's how Harrison beat him the first time, right? I thought Harrison was winning more comfortably in the rematch until he started to play around. He got caught, and you don't play boxing. That's why Charlo knocked him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against Castano, like Castano does the same thing, so he didn't pay the price for it. But in the first fight, especially, he looked tense. Like Castano would catch him, he would tense up. Bro, tensing up takes energy. And he's going to have a fighter that he's going to be quote unquote in front of him, but Canelo's never really in front of you in a straight line, right? I'm not talking about the head movement. I'm talking about it's a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional sport. Like, you know what I mean? Like Canelo is moving, like he's moving his head, moving his waist, and he's working angles. Like he's working his way around the ring against you. And Charlo's going to be. Just watch the fight. And everybody, like this, when this fight starts, notice by round 2, he's going to be tense. Like Charlo's going to look tense and angry. And I think he's going to be a little bothered by Canelo's unwillingness to just stay stationary in front of him, right? Canelo doesn't have an upright to stand in front of you style. It just doesn't. So I think that's going to give Charlo problems. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to talk about the betting, I like Canelo by stoppage in this fight. I like the stoppage. I do. I think I'm not crazy about the over-under in this fight. I'm just crazy about Canelo straight up by stoppage. Like, that's what I like. That's what I'm going to bet. And I'm very confident in that bet.
You think it's going to be like a plant style stoppage?
No, I just like Plant's another guy who fights more relaxed, and I think it has better movement than Charlo.
Billy Joe too. Yeah.
Billy Joe as well. I just think Charlo's going to be tense in this fight. He's also very inactive, by the way. You mentioned it. The guy hasn't fought since May of last year. That's a long time. You know what I mean? So there's going to be some ring rust. There's a lot of things he's going to be battling while he has like one of the best fighters in the world in front of him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think Canelo's going to take full advantage of it. And another thing, and Chicano Prophet brought this up yesterday, and I agree 100%. Jermell really takes care of his body, like in the fight. He's more willing to take headshots than he is body shots, and that's going to be a detriment for him. And then Canelo is so good at making you guess, like, is he going to the body or is he going upstairs? And that's how he caught Billy Joe, right? Billy Joe went to cover the body and he left himself open upstairs with the uppercut, right? He thought hook to the body, but Canelo turned it midway and went uppercut upstairs. That is a level of boxing that I just don't think Jermell's ready for, bro. And I like Jermell. I want to keep watching him, obviously. I like you, I've said nothing but complimentary things about him, but I just think there's just too much going against him here. This is not a natural weight class for him. He's putting on weight, which means he's going to lose a little bit of speed, right? And just because you're heavier doesn't mean you're punching harder, because you could lose snap if you lose speed in your punch, right? And so there's a lot of unknowns, but at the same time, history will tell us that it's just too much for him in this fight. The guys, Calix, that move up and beat good fighters are special, great fighters. Right.
And those fighters generally have a visible glaring advantage coming into
100%.
Pacquiao like up against De La Hoya, like that type of thing.
Roy Jones versus Randy Ruiz. Nobody was asking who's more skilled. Who's a better? Nobody asked that question. The question was, are Roy's skills, superior skills, enough to overcome the size advantage that Andy Ruiz has, right? Another one, a notorious one here on YouTube. When it was rumored that Canelo was going to fight either Badu Jack and before that Makabu, right? Nobody was saying Makabu's a skilled fighter and a great fighter. No, nobody was saying that. The question was, that's a hell of a jump. That's a lot of weight. Canelo already started at welterweight in his career. He's already a small super middleweight. If he goes to cruiserweight, is he skilled enough to overcome the big size advantage that Makabu or Badu Jack would have over him? Some people, even people high on Canelo, didn't think so, right?
Me.
So it is what it is, right? Those people genuinely concerned about Canelo fighting
That's
Makabu.
Way too. And he had already been through too many weight classes. That's even more different because he had already been through weight classes where Charlo is, you know what I mean?
But that's a weight class where he could be dominating the whole fight and then he gets caught with a clean shot and then he's never the same again. He could blow out a knee because he could be in the right stance, but the punch is too heavy and it turns his fucking kind of like Martinez against Chavez Jr. You know what I mean? So it's dangerous in that sense. But
Badu Jack is a tougher fight for Canelo than Benavidez.
That's another guy. He's more skilled in Makabu, and then he's also big. So that's a factor. So my point is this. there's no glaring, as you mentioned, difference in skill as far as him being better. If anything, I think it's clear to me anyway that Canelo is a more skilled fighter of the two. And this is his weight class. And one more thing regarding that. Just because Jermell is taller than Canelo, right, doesn't mean he's going to be the quote unquote bigger guy. I maintain this. I think they're like the same size. I think they're going to be the same weight on fight night. I do, right? But here's the difference. Canelo is used to fighting at that weight. He's been adjusted. He's good, right? And I think that the body work is going to be very evident in this fight, bro. He's going to force Charlo to use his elbows to block the body shots. And I think Canelo's going to have a field day with that, because here's another thing I don't think Charlo's ready for. Charlo, he blades his body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch for Canelo's hook to the solar plex area, right? And also like the straight, like he has a nice straight down the pipe to the body that he throws as well, right? And I think he'll do that when Charlo shoots upstairs, right? Because he's bladed, and when he shoots, he's going to be squared up, and that's where Canelo's going to have a field day to the body, I believe, and that's going to make Jermell even more tentative. Like, you know what I mean? So now that could be an argument for why if he becomes very tentative, then he's going to survive and go to distance, right? Fair enough. I just don't think that's in Jermell's. I believe Jermell will be willing to go out on his shield, bro. Like I do. I believe that. I do. Yeah. I don't think Jermell's going to pack it in and just be content with just.
That's why I'm a fan.
I like Ryder too, by the way, but you could tell like Ryder reached a point in that fight where he was content with like going the distance and then being able to say, Canelo's not the same. It's what like, you know what I mean? So not Jermell. I think Jermell's coming to win.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when guys come to win, they'll rather get stopped trying to win than pack it in. So that's what I think.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Shout out Nando. Appreciate this super chat. Please jab the like. Yes, please jab the like. And always appreciate the super chats and the support, Nando. I have several points on stuff you just said.
Is Jermell more athletic than Canelo? I know Nerd said he's more athletically. Is he? Like, who would be a better shortstop if they picked up baseball? I don't know.
It's hard to quantify. Yeah, it's hard to quantify that. I would say they're both athletic.
Canelo has faster hands than him. I think Jermell has slightly faster feet. It just depends, I guess.
They're both of their chins are top level, top shelf chins. With Mel, he's hit the canvas once, and that was 2014 on an overhand right, and it was a flash knockdown. He was up at 2. It was just a flash knockdown. So besides that, he hasn't hit the canvas either. The difference here is Canelo's seen more of a Charlo type of fighter and then some than Charlo's seen of a Canelo, in my opinion. The reason I'm a Mel fan is because he has what I would refer to as the dragon energy. I've talked about it. He's the type of dude that when he walks in the room, he changes the temperature. And he backs it up. He's backed it up in the ring. And he's always like that. I don't think that changes. I think you could hit him over the head with the chair. I think you could hit this guy with 1,000,000 right hands, and he would still have that same energy until you beat it out of him. You have to beat it out of him. And that's to your point. And I think why you would pick the stoppage, you just explained that well, is he's not going to go into survival mode. I don't think he has that in his DNA. I don't think he has survival mode in his DNA. So a lot of times those guys are easier to knock out than the guy who has the same level chin, but will go into survival mode, right? And he's not going to do that. Look, you're going to have to beat it. You're going to have to beat it out of Mel. You're going to have to beat it out of him. And I think that's where we have our differences. I tend to think that Mel's going to go the distance. I think it's going to be a fun fight where you're going to have a lot of hellacious exchanges in this fight.
I just don't
that favors Canelo more. And I'm sort of like with you, but my instincts kind of tell me it's going to be a 12-round fight. But I'm kind of with you. I could see a stoppage as well. To your point on the height, you made a comment on the height. Yes, he is taller than Canelo, but you got to remember we talk about that. That's not an advantage. It's if a guy can use his height. And what happens with Canelo against guys who can't use their height? He flips that into his advantage. He actually prefers fighting taller fighters, which is one of the reasons he went up in weight. And that's another thing you brought up, and some people brought up in the comment section. The weight, 168. He's undefeated there. It's his weight. And when I look at Canelo at 168, I think a guy who beats him at that weight and takes those belts off of him is going to be a guy who is special at that weight. We've only seen it twice, Canelo lose, and it's both times been against special, versatile fighters. And in the Bivol case, it's actually a special, versatile fighter in a higher weight class than him, when he was fighting. And this is a guy who I don't think is a special, versatile fighter moving up. It's Canelo's weight. I just don't see the upset. I've been looking for it, envisioning scenarios in which it's possible, but I think Canelo's going to win this fight. I tend to lean towards decision. Here's the good news for Mel and the Mel Charlo fans out there is, to me, it's a win-win for Mel, because if you go up 2 weight classes and lose a big fight like this, so what, right? You took the chance.
Oh, of course, I agree with that.
Right? It is what it is.
He's daring to be great, bro. Look, like that's what it is. He's daring to be great. Like, you can't. I said this several times, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when this fight was first announced, there was a moment of like, what? Like you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you had the same like kind of like when you first heard about this fight. But then like it just grew on me, like it just did, and I said to myself, you know, yeah, I don't like the fact that they kind of strung Tim Tszyu along, right? I think Tim Tszyu was the backup plan in case the Canelo fight didn't go through. But at the end of the day, this is what we want fighters to do. We want them to go for like Tan goes up to fight Mario Barrios, right? And then they want to sell it to us like it's this historic thing because he's moving up to fight a bigger guy, but like it's the regular champion and a very hittable dude. Like, no, like what Jermell Charlo's doing right now, going up against the undisputed champion and one of the best fighters, if not the best fighter of this generation, right?
There's a big reason he's doing it, but he's doing it.
I'll actually say this. And look, in this era, I get what you're saying. Look, it's prize fighting. Money's always going to be an aspect. They all do it for money. Like I don't live in a delusional world, but
there's the Frank Martins out there, right?
Yeah. I was about to say that. You got Frank Martins out there that turn down big paydays because they don't like it or whatever. You have Andrades out there that basically give away his golden ticket to Ryder. Basically, you might as well just have given it to him. You know what I mean? Like here, Ryder. You know what I mean? Like you could have my ticket. He had an opportunity to fight Jermell early in his career, didn't do it, right? And bragged about it, saying, "Oh, it was a smart move because look, Jermell's a bigger name now. So we do the fight now, it will be bigger." Yeah, well, you're not gonna get the fight, bro. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. But I still believe it's okay to appreciate. Like this is me. I didn't like it when people were saying like, "I don't give Fulton any credit. He did it because of the money to go to Japan." No, he gets credit. He went to Japan. He did what a lot of PBC guys wouldn't do. He went to Japan and fought in a way. I do believe it's fair to say, dare to be great, that he wanted to fight the best guy in the division. And of course, he made a lot of money doing it. But it's fair to say both could be true. You know what I mean? And in this case, of course, Jermell is going to make a lot of money. But you know, I do think he's going for greatness here. I think he's daring to be great. I think this win is important to him, and I think he's coming to win. I think he wants to upset the apple cart. I think he wants to stamp his legacy, right? I do believe that.
Yeah, another thing we look at when we look at betting is trends. You look for trends. And I just can't overlook this glaring trend out there and shout out to Edwin Castillo, by the way, $2 super chat. Don't be shocked when Canelo shows he's faster. I won't be. I won't be. And to me, it's not even about the speed. It's about, like you said, the skill, timing being big when you talk about activity. He's just a more active fighter who's always in the lab. Always. He's got a boxing brain, right? As opposed to some fighters who disappear in between fights. Timing. So pay attention to timing. I think that's more of it than speed. And I think you're right on the money with the left hook to the body with the follow-up right hand upstairs. I think look out for those. Look out for that combination as well, particularly off the ropes. But trends. It is not a friendly trend with fighters being off 12 plus months and winning big fights. It's just not a good, it's a trend. And it's not a trend that favors inactive fighters. And I know people want to look past the PBC versus top rank trend to where it's whatever it is at this point, 4-23, whatever that number is. But one of the reasons you have a number like that is the inactivity level. And I'll just go back to it. They don't do their fighters any favors by going 14 to 17 month layoffs going into big fights. And I think the timing of Charlo is going to be off early in this fight. If you want to pull off an upset, you have to have everything going for yourself. And I don't think the timing is going to be there for him early in this fight. And that's when you need to be banking rounds, right? Plant banked rounds. Billy Joe Saunders banked rounds early. And I don't know if Charlo can do that. Even if you bank rounds early, it's still not enough in those fights unless you can do it consistently through the fight, like Bivol, Mayweather. But I don't know if he has that. Do we expect to see Benavidez ringside for this fight? I would hope so, right? Another thing that would be smart, correct?
Shout out to Mantis. Yeah.
Shout out to Mantis, $5 super chat. But that would be smart, right? Show up to the fight ringside if you really want the fight.
And there's still tickets available, right? No excuses. So you know what I mean? Like,
they'll give him a free ticket. PBC.
You know, just show up, bro. Like, just show up. You know, look, you got to do it. He's got to do it, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, that's what I think. But if he's not there, I don't even know what to say. By the way, if he's not there, and I believe that if Benavidez showed up to the press conference, that would be a bigger statement than when Andrade did it.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes.
But again,
by the way, the WBC came out last week and said, no, we need that fight ordered before March of 2024. So everything seems to be lining up for it. So push.
But let me ask you this, Calix. So they tell Mauricio, hey, Mauricio, motherfucker, I'm gonna be fighting Crawford. You stupid motherfucker. You want 3%, motherfucker. Like, what do you think Mauricio's gonna do?
I think he'll step aside. I think there'll be a lot of
money. See, this is a big fight for boxing. This is unprecedented. You need to understand that I did not expect these big fights, and that's big for boxing. Everything's a case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. So it's only right that we allow a great champion like Crawford to move up to fight Canelo. And will be a huge fight for boxing, huge fight for everybody. In other words, he's going to do this to Benavidez. Go over there.
Yeah. We hope not, by the way.
I want to see the fight, but I already know how Benavidez, I'm sorry, Mauricio is. Like, you know, look, he's going to do what he does. He's going to put it out there. He's going to say whatever he wants to say, but maybe Canelo does fight him anyway, right? Cinco de Mayo will be a big fight. But, man, I don't know, man. I think we'll see just an interim fight or something.
Yeah, the good news either way is things move fast in Canelo world. We've talked about that. And no matter what happens, it's going to be a big fight. No matter who it is, it's going to be a meaningful fight. JXV88 says thoughts on Charlo still rehabbing his hand on episode 2. I haven't seen episode 2, and I think people who know me at this point know I'm just not into the build-ups. I show up for the fight.
Were you into the countdowns back in the day?
I was.
But you know what was different about the countdown, and even the very first 24/7. After that, they became trash to me. It was all about the fight and the training.
Yeah.
Well, sprinkled in, of course, we'll see their family here and there, but now it's like a reality show about their personal lives, and I just don't care.
Those HBO training montages were phenomenal.
Oh, I love those.
Phenomenal. Yeah. But I think you're with me on this. I enjoyed the one episode countdown shows better than the 24/7s. Like,
I agree.
Remember when they had Kelly Pavlik versus Jermaine Taylor?
Oh, that was awesome.
They knew, like, those countdown shows, they had it down to a science.
Yeah, because they would talk to the scribes, right? They would talk. You see Dougie Fisher there once in a while. I think Steve Kim or Dan Raphael's, eating a donut while he's doing it, whatever, right? But whoever, they're just there. And then Teddy Atlas had trainers that they just, and they were just, and it was just like short, to the point, 3-4 words about the fight, and they'll be showing the fight. It was very efficient, to the point, 25 minutes, and they were awesome, bro. The montages were great. Now, like, look,
too much filler.
I'm glad Canelo has a daughter and all, but I'm glad they have a bond. But cool, I think that's great for Canelo. But like, I don't care. Like
no,
like I don't care about like even the interviews now. Like they're talking about that one dude's Anderson's dog, and like I just don't care about that stuff, bro. I want to hear about the training.
Showtime really dropped the ball in a lot of ways. And there are rumors. I'm sure everybody's heard the rumors, and I'm hearing the same rumors from industry and insiders. Everybody else is hearing that Showtime could possibly be going away after this year, other than pay-per-view. I think who knows? We'll see.
Well, I guess they got a head start, right? It's all pay-per-view anyway.
Yeah, it's all pay-per-view anyway. They already got that down pat, but who knows what's going to happen with that? But what I'm saying is, I think they dropped the ball in a lot of ways, because with HBO going away, they could have done a lot of the things HBO was doing early on, being the only big player at that level early on. They could have emulated it. For one, they could have went after Jim Lampley, right? They could have went there. They could have picked off some of that talent. They could have used the same model on building fights, telecasting fights, and they just didn't.
Yeah,
they just
you're right.
didn't. And it never. HBO used to hit your soul, right? As a boxing fan, like it just.
Of course it did, bro. Like I still remember like that. I still remember the freaking iconic theme, and I hated how when they changed. Remember when they changed it? Like in the last 2 years, that was stupid. I just remember it just had a different feel. There's no doubt about it. And I know some may argue, well, that's nostalgia. Maybe it is, but what's nostalgia? It reminds you of some great times. That's what it is, right? We don't remember bad things, so that means it worked for the time. Whether it's outdated or not, I don't think it is. That's a different argument. But I don't know. I just.
The parts of Showtime that I'm going to miss are the ones that I'm hearing are going to go away, like Showbox. We used to remember going on Friday night and watching Showbox, right? Like that's the nostalgia of Showtime.
I remember Showbox right after Friday Night Fights, right? Yeah. Like that was some great stuff. But we're just living in an age, bro, where this is the era we are in now. Like boxing fans get scolded when we bring this stuff up, because you're just. I don't know, whatever they say. Just to give some examples, like the Hitchens fight was boring. Come on, like, what are we doing? No, you just don't appreciate the sweet science. It's exciting. Like if you need to argue with people, right? Like take Espinoza. I'll never forget, like the fight earlier this year in January when he did the pay-per-view with Tank and Garcia. He was tweeting out about, boxing fans always complain, but here is a real fight and they don't want to buy it. Like, bro, it's don't get on the consumer for not buying it. You need to do a better job selling it. That's what you need to do. You know what I mean? Like car salesmen don't sit at the car dealership complain about how all these people are pieces of shit because none of them want to buy cars.
That's another thing they've done terrible at. And,
Yep.
and people just try to sweep that under the rug. They've done a terrible job of projecting that they're bigger than everybody else. They know what's best for everybody else, and everybody else needs to shut up and not complain. Like, we're the consumer, we can complain. I don't remember any of these other organizations doing this at this scale.
You need to take feedback. Every great organization, I worked for some Fortune 500 companies, okay? Every great organization needs to take feedback from its customer. Is there going to be stupid feedback? Of course, right? But if you take feedback in mass, okay, you're going to be able to align where a lot of people are, right? Yes, it's going to be the idiot that is angry with the company because he wasn't getting everything for free. Oh, well, okay, well, fuck that dude. And you know what I mean? But then you're going to have people that have some complaints that maybe you didn't see as a quote unquote business, right? But that you need to address, and it makes you a better business, right? Boxing is the only business I know of, Calix, where the consumer gets yelled at when the business doesn't sell. If Snickers isn't selling, they don't call people pieces of shit because they don't want to buy the chocolate. You know what I mean? They're going to figure out, what do we need to do to get more people to buy Snickers? Same with Coca-Cola, okay? And if you want to go with the music industry, same thing. If Metallica isn't selling tickets, they don't go around saying, oh, these fans are pieces of shits. These fans suck. They don't want to buy our tickets. No, you know what? Metallica is going to figure out, what do we need to do to sell tickets, right? Like, that's just the way it is. Stop taking it out on the consumer. The consumer is not buying. It's all our money. We could spend it whatever the fuck we want to spend it on. Convince me to buy it, right? Convince the consumer to buy it. There's far too, and more ever now than ever, Calix. There's more options today. We have an alternative brand, if you want to call it that, called MMA, that people can go watch if they want, right? If you're not giving them what they want, they have an alternative they could go to, right? They do. They got, we're not no longer, if we were McDonald's, we're not the only ones around still. There's a Burger King down the street now, right? So we need to figure that out. And there's entertainment, like, possibilities that people could watch, bro. Many of them which are kicking boxing's ass in the fucking ratings, and his network spend nowhere near the amount of money for those things. All right? There's reality shows that fuck up boxing. They don't pay those reality stars, if you want to call them stars, the type of money they pay boxers to get half of the ratings on television. All right? This sport needs to humble itself. The people in charge of the sport need to humble themselves. And they need to figure out how to increase their consumer base is what they need to do. All right? Because you can cry about and bitch and moan about the pay-per-view not selling, but the fights aren't doing that good either. When Teofimo fought Tater and did under $1 million on ESPN, I thought that was sad as fuck. Right? But they framed it as, like, if this is a good thing, it's the highest viewed fight of the year. Like, the highest viewed fight of the year is under $1 million? Bro, there was a time where Calazaghe, Kessler, I believe, I forget what it did, but I think it did like 1.5 million. And at the time, that was the lowest rating HBO ever had, and it was considered an utter failure. Boxing needs to get a shit together, bro. Don't lecture me about being a business, right? If you're failing at business, you're failing boxing. You're failing with the consumer. You're getting your ass kicked by other entertainment properties out there. So are you just going to sit there, bleed and complain and blame the fans for it because we're not buying? Or are you going to improve the product so we can start buying it again? Mm-hmm. That's a decision boxing needs to make. If you're going to call yourself a business, and it is a business, it's just very bad at it at the moment.
Yeah. JXV88 199 super chat. Who's the last southpaw David Benavidez fought he might lose? And, I don't think Boo Boo's an easy fight. I don't think it's something we can look past. I'm not sure who the last southpaw is he fought, to be honest.
We have a disagreement. I think it's going to fuck up Boo Boo. I think it's an easy fight for Benavidez.
You think there's a reason they're taking it instead of Morrell Jr.?
Yeah, 100%. I think he will overwhelm Boo Boo. I think he's gonna like Boo Boo does not have the power to hurt him. Boo Boo cannot keep him honest. He's not going to be able to keep Benavidez off of him. He's not going to be able to keep up with the pace. He might pack it in, just settle for the decision, but he might get stopped in this fight. Boo Boo, like, bro, iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. Boo Boo spent a career, and you talked about this. You've broken this down before. Like, he was a 1,300 to 1 favorite, 2,500 to 1 favorite, 1,100 to 1 favorite. This guy has been too much of a favorite against low-level opposition for him, where he has not improved as a fighter. He doesn't have the experience despite fighting for so long. His toughest fight and best win is Vanes Martirosyan. So I think I honestly believe that Benavidez, coming off a guy that is similar to Benavidez in plant, like, and more active. He just has too much going for him. I think he destroys Boo Boo.
Yeah, and Southpaw, not. I don't know when the last one he is, to be honest, to answer that question. But I think as far as Canelo versus Charlo, we'll be talking about this a lot, this fight this week, because it's a big fight, and I like the card. We're going to talk a lot about the undercard as well, because this is what an undercard should look like, to be honest. And I don't really know what to make of the Showtime rumors. And I see a lot of people saying it's reminiscent of Fox, PBC on Fox going away as well. They used to they were putting on big cards.
I'm gonna guess that they're still gonna be around, bro. That's just my opinion. I have no. They're especially if the Canelo Charlo fight does well. It's going to buy them time. Like I think Tank is going to fight again. The Garcia fight did well. Obviously, if the Tank fight would have bombed and then Canelo bombed, of course, I could see the writing on the wall. But they have some success to speak of, right? This is the only problem, though. Like, the ceiling for Canelo is a lot higher than it is for these other guys because he has a much higher guarantee. So it could look like a success on paper, the pay-per-view, but it could lose them money, right? Because of what they got to pay Canelo and Charlo, right? And I don't know, man. They could lose money in this fight, and if they do, yes, that could be the beginning of the end for Showtime.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? And by the way, where are we going to be on your channel this week?
Well, Wednesday. We'll do it for Wednesday. I believe you're busy Tuesday, so Wednesday it is. And we're going to also talk about the undercard fights on Tuesday. Wednesday, I mean. So Jesus Ramos against Lubin, I think it's a great fight. I'll give PBC this. I said this the other week, and I'll leave this as my final thought. It's a great undercard. But I think we're fortunate to have this undercard because PBC can't get dates on Showtime or Fox anymore. And they needed these guys to fight, so they just threw them in. If they have the dates, there's no way they give us this undercard.
That's a good point.
And I think that's what it is. But it could be one of those situations where this accidentally shows them that this pays off. Like giving the consumer a great undercard. Maybe that's
going to happen.
Maybe not, but hey, let's hope. You know what I mean? Like, give us good undercards, bro. Like here's where this is where I get bothered with Showtime specifically. They just like, for whatever reason. And maybe it's because it's heavily influenced by Al Heyman at the moment. Showtime is. It's basically PBC.
Biggest mistake they made, by the way.
A lot of fighters on that network aren't taking the fights that would be good for the sport and that are just traditionally the fights you should be taking at this point of your career. Keith Thurman should not be shelved. Keith Thurman should be looking at a situation like a Boots fight. An old school fighter would think this week, Alex. Like B-Hop did this, right? Several times in his career. Oh, this is your new young buck, huh? This is the guy you guys want to get rid of me with? Okay, fine.
Remember the Pavlik fight? And by the
Yeah,
way, speaking of countdown shows, remember when he said, yeah, he's a young lion. I just want to see what I have to offer this young lion. Remember he said
yeah,
that?
like
He did.
like an old school fighter would embrace like a fight with Boots and be like, okay, this is the guy that's supposed to send me packing, right? Well, I ain't done, motherfuckers. Then guess what? If you win, you're back in there, bro. You're back in the mix. But he's not taking that fight because those fighters at Showtime, PBC, have been programmed to think a certain way. Don't take chances if you don't need to, because eventually Al's going to bring a payday for you, right? For a much easier opponent.
It's embarrassing.
And it is. And
Look at
you
Frank
took the words
Martin.
out of my mouth. I was about to say, and it's embarrassing for the sport.
How is Frank Martin doing that? How is that excusable?
I don't know.
Stay quiet. How does he come out and say what he said the other day and it's just excused? You turn down that fight and you're going to go back fighting a Showtime card nobody watches? If you can even get a date, making $100K, you're going to turn down $1 million?
Yeah, like it's the back end money that we talked about a million times, bro. Like he could sit there all day and talk about. It's why I don't feel sorry for Frank Martin. You were offered the fight, okay? You were gonna let's say it's $1 million. Let's just say it's that, right? That's much higher than you've ever made, plus the opportunity to, if you beat Shakur overnight, your stock value has gone up, right? On top of that, you have an opportunity with that. Okay. But he's thinking differently, and he's thinking about, oh no, like for this type of fight, no, I can't. Like this holdout till the better, prosperous time comes. It might have worked a little bit, and it was just circumstantial, Calix, for the last few years. It worked because the zone was throwing money at these fighters. I talked about this the other day. Yep. It worked because PBC had almost unlimited funds that Al Heyman was playing with. But Al Heyman was playing with other people's money. And people are very giving when it's other people's money, right? Like people remember that we get an Aram, like, Aram's cheap. Why doesn't he pay him what fucking Al Heyman pays him? Well, yeah, because that's actually Bob Aram's money. That's why. You know what I mean? Like Aram is taking, like he's making an investment in that fighter, where Al Heyman was taking money from networks and for what, I don't know what he was thinking, but he spent all that money, bro. The amount of money Al Heyman spent.
Oh my God.
Right. And now nothing to show for it right now, other than offerings for Canelo, offerings for maybe Tank Davis, and that's it. I mean, that's pretty much what he's got, bro.
And I don't understand the networks. Like, why would you get in bed with one agency? Why would you get in bed with one promoter, one advisor? I don't understand the network exclusivity, other than they're just lazy. Why wouldn't you just work with all of them and let them compete for your dates? I don't understand that. I'm sure there's a reason for it, that they're smarter than me, right? And it's my criticism of Showtime and that whole umbrella there is, anytime you bring up this type of stuff, they're just going to come out and call you dumb, or worse, often worse. Shout out my guy Sanch, $5 super chat. Showtime finished. Canelo versus Charlo tickets tanking. I spoke about at the top how they're about half of what they were for Triple G. Now, there could be other factors, like you said, the blackouts out there. On top of that, the economy. Who knows? And also, we can't discount what that rivalry was with Golovkin, right? That was a rivalry. No fall schedule. Espinoza quiet since his Twitter back and forth.
Yeah, I'll just say this. Let me just say this.
I don't know if I was the last one to get it back and forth. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, at the end of the day, first, I saw the graphs. Most of the tickets are sold. Like, there's a couple left.
No, those are the second. Yeah, those are gonna go. It's gonna be a sellout.
I understand that they're lowering the prices to sell it out or whatever, but if we're comparing it to Golovkin, I mean, Golovkin Canelo is an all-time great trilogy in terms of name recognition. Yep. So, Canelo, if this is tanking, it's still higher than any other fighter. Like, you know what I mean? It's still It's still gonna double like any UFC gate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I'm just saying, like, we're comparing Canelo to Canelo, right?
Exactly.
So I also think people are having fatigue with having to pay so much for fights.
Yes.
People are reaching a point, and that's a real thing. Like, just fatigue. Like,
It's consumer. It's a real thing. It's a real term. It's science. It's consumer fatigue. It's called consumer fatigue. People are tapped out.
yeah, people are like, I'll just maybe the next one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro. Like, I think B broke it down. Like he responded to an Allerby like, bro, I've spent like $800 on Showtime this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're over here bragging about how you guys are doing great, but at the expense of who?
Yep.
Like we're stop lecturing the people that are funding it, motherfucker. All right? Like, this shit's getting annoying, bro. All right?
Yep.
It's getting annoying as shit. Like, and I'm not saying me as an individual, I'm saying we as boxing fans, don't let yourselves get lectured to, okay, and talked down to by any of these motherfuckers out here. Because we are the heartbeat of the sport. Without us, there's no sport. All right? Without us, no one's at the fights. Well, there's not that many. Well, the only ones left, okay? Like the only ones left buying the pay-per-views, guys like Benavidez and you know, Andrade, they can't force, you know, Showtime to pay them what the money they want because they feel they're worth that. Because unless we're there to subsidize it, right? We're the subsidy. We're not just fans. As fans, like, I can't just sit there and just let the commercials pay it for me, or once in a while pay for a pay-per-view like any other normal sport. No, I need to literally subsidize these motherfuckers' pockets, right? And then still hear them complain and bitch and moan and get other fans lecture me about how I don't have a right to an opinion. You know what? Fuck you. Anyone who says I don't have a right to an opinion, you go fuck yourself. Like hard. Go find the biggest pole and go do your work. Okay. Okay. Because like at the end of the day, stay out of my business then. Right. This is my business, is yours. Stay out of mine. All right. Like, I'm here to say that as boxing fans, we have a right to, like, is that a controversial statement, Alex?
No,
we have a right to speak out our opinion. Like, we're the only fan base that can't speak it out.
Yeah.
Do college fans pay this much money to follow college football?
No, not
college
even
basketball.
Not even
NFL.
close.
Even if you buy the Sunday ticket, do you spend this much money to follow the NFL?
No.
So spare me that we're the worst fans, we're worse than everybody. We're like, first of all, this is boxing. Of course, a certain type of male is watching this sport. It's a brutal sport. That's number one, right? I would also argue it's one of the last few things left that is masculine in this fucking world, right? So like, it is what it is. But spare me, bro. Like at the end of the day, those are my thoughts.
This is gonna be my final thought. Just piggybacking off of this comment here. The last part of it. Boxing can't co-promote for the health of the sport. And that's a big one. And that's why I have a real problem with network exclusivity, why I have a big problem with guys like Espinoza out there preaching to people when he can't even stick to the basics of what brings on a great sport. And part of that is letting promoters compete with each other to bring the best card to your network. And oh, by the way, if you have network exclusivity, what happens? You have another obstacle in the way of putting on cross-promoted fights, right? Because what network is going to be on? Because this fight is with that network, that fight is with that one. And on top of that, if they could all work with the same network, it would be easier for them to cross-promote fights. And we need more cross-promotions. And a specific example, Tank just cross-promoted with Ryan. Ryan had to do everything, jump through every hurdle to get that fight, by the way. But you can't tell me, since he just cross-promoted a fight with Ryan, that they can't cross-promote Tank versus Teofimo, Heisman weekend, New York, Madison Square Garden, December 9th. Imagine what that fight would do. Heisman weekend, December 9th, Madison Square Garden. Imagine what it would do. And that's what I'm talking
just
about.
One quick thing. I know I keep saying one, but bucket. Look, we need to I'm not even going to give my comments here, and I'm just going to leave a question for you guys out there. And I want you to ponder this thought. Why are fighters that are not on PBC, why do certain fan bases, right, and certain people in the boxing industry have every expectation for non-PBC fighters to go to PBC, kind of like Crawford, right? I use him as an example. Yeah. He's expected to drop everything and go to PBC, right? Ryan Garcia is expected to drop everything and go to PBC. Like, you know what I mean? Regardless of the fighter, like they're expected to. You have fan bases discouraging Fulton from going to ESPN and fighting in a way, arguing that the fight should be in the US, not in Japan. It should be in PBC, not on ESPN, right? Why is that accepted? But when I said, and I've been saying it for 2 years, by the way, why can't any of, and I've been saying it since Roberto Diaz, by the way, was on 8CP, okay, getting interviewed, and he said they made an offer to Jermell Charlo to fight Canelo, all right? That fight, hypothetically, would have been on the zone. He was offered $7 million, Jermell. Jermell, to this day, has not made that amount of money. Since then, I've been saying it. Why don't these fan bases expect these PBC guys to go where Canelo's at and fight him? Right? Just ponder that question. Just think about it. And it's not just Canelo, by the way. It's just in general. Other fighters and other promotional companies and networks are expected to go over there and give up everything. Right? All concessions given up. But they don't expect the same thing from PBC fighters. I think that's an imbalance, and it's a problem.
Yep. You're absolutely right. And where I would end it is these people who preach down to you, keep in mind that they've done a lot to bring boxing down to where it currently is. And look, we got a lot of positive going for us as well. We'll continue to get on here and talk about it, but you have to be real about where we are. You talked about it earlier when Teofimo versus Josh Taylor doesn't do 1 million on average on ESPN. And do you know what Notre Dame versus Ohio State did Saturday night? Average viewers, 10.5 million. 10.5 million average view. That's average. That's not peak. 10.5 million. And
I bet you that singular game, that game by itself, did not cost ESPN what the boxing fight cost.
That was NBC. And yeah, ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Colorado State on Fox did 10 million the week before.
Well, let's compare it. I would rather compare it to like ESPN, which again, college football games there do like 4 or 5 times what Teofimo did.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'm supposed to go from that and then go watch Richards and Hitchens fight right after that on Showtime. And that probably did 50K or on the zone. That probably did 50K, but viewers, who knows what it did. And I'm supposed to watch grass grow after that. So it is what it is. A lot to fix, but we got Canelo versus Charlo this weekend, and at least we've got Canelo. And I'm telling y'all, there's going to be a lot of Canelo derangement syndrome this week. It always happens on Canelo fight week. Those dudes, you better wake up and you better enjoy what you got right now with Canelo, because 3-4 years from now, it's going to be gone and you're going to miss it because that other guy right now is not out there. You better be grooming somebody else if you're going to be hating on this dude. That's all I got to say. See y'all tomorrow and Wednesday over on D-Styles channel. God bless. Peace.